The American Overseas Schools Historical Society,
AOSHS, is the only organization in the world
dedicated to collecting and preserving the artifacts
and the history of American overseas schools
and telling the story of educating American children overseas.
This humble storefront in Wichita, Kansas, is the headquarters of the American Overseas Schools Historical Society. The history of American schools overseas is a rich and ever-evolving story populated by people like you who attended American International, Department of Defense, State Department, corporate and missionary-sponsored schools. If you attended an American school overseas, this is the only place in existence where your personal story of what you did while attending school overseas will be preserved. It is, in a very real sense, your hometown library and museum. Our education overseas laid the foundation for our future education and broadened our cultural awareness. It has also given us a worldwide perspective on past and current events. Additionally, it gave us the ability to confidently support things we believe in. The archives have come a long way in almost 2 decades. We own a building in Wichita, Kansas, with limited exhibit and archival storage space for individual and institutional collections that arrive weekly. There continues to be an ever-increasing need to preserve the pieces of your history as they arrive at the archives from American schools closing in Europe and the Far East as the United States shifts its geopolitical priorities overseas. There is no federal financial support for this facility, nor is there likely to be any in the future. No money has been allocated from the Department of Defense Overseas Schools, the U.S. State Department, or the U.S. Department of Education. While many funding sources have felt the need for the archives was genuine, other projects took precedence over ours. In the spirit of American students overseas who adapt and achieve beyond all expectations, and often without outside help, we now have to step up to the plate, and make this happen ourselves. To put it succinctly and bluntly, it is time now for us to give back. The American Overseas Schools Archives needs your financial support to preserve your story, your history. We need donations to the Archive Endowment Fund. With only 2 part-time staff members and volunteers to do the work, there is a backlog of hundreds of boxes of memorabilia which need to be cataloged and preserved, and more boxes arrive weekly adding to this backlog. There are an estimated 5 to 7 million of us who attended overseas American schools. We remain invisible as part of mainstream everyday America, but we must come forward and unite to say we are Americans who as children represented our country overseas, as much, if not more, than our parents did. We made a contribution, and we will not let our story, its records, and artifacts disappear into the sands of time. While there are millions of us who attended overseas American schools, there are only several 100,000 teachers who taught us. Both the membership in the American Overseas Schools Historical Society and the donations to the American Overseas Schools Archive statistically run 85% from former teachers and 15% from former students. Once again, as they did overseas, our former teachers are teaching us what is important and showing us the way we need to go. What we did and what they did overseas should be preserved and our stories told. Please consider making us a part of your annual giving program. An annual donation of $20 to $100 from each of us within our individual ability to give will guarantee the viability of the Archives Endowment Fund and ensure that our history is preserved in perpetuity. Remember, AOSHS is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and your donation is fully tax deductible. Students past, present, and future, we need your continued support long after graduation to maintain and preserve your legacy. We need you to join today and to annually renew your membership. So what will your legacy be to future generations? Scattered bits of overseas school memorabilia? Will the yearbooks of 5 million of us be scattered among millions of homes of children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews who think the story of mom, dad, or their grandparents attending school overseas was just a quaint story? Or will your overseas school memories end up for sale on eBay, or worse, in a trash can? In the last 2 decades, we have achieved much, but there is much, with your help, yet to be accomplished. The choice is yours to make. It's not a choice that requires a lot of money or effort to make, but it's not a choice that can be put off any longer. Your monetary donations and your yearly membership are needed. And make no mistake, it is a choice and a decision you need to make, and make today. Yes, it's that important. Please give us your financial support and become an AOSHS member, and we will preserve your history and tell your story, both today and to future generations. You can contribute online by going to the AOSHS website or by calling the number on the screen.